People paying money to see me in a 20-by-20 ring.
We saw in our last matchup the neck of Matt Seidel being injured and Christopher Daniels going right to work on it, and the champ doing the exact same thing here with the nose of AJ Styles.
Breaking the knee across the nose. Throws a warning for Todd Sinclair, but continuing.
I have till 5.
And he has until 5.
You know, I take a lot of pride in what I do in wrestling. It's always been about the wrestling for me, how much I love wrestling.
You need to fight for your dreams. That's what Daniel Bryan does, is he fights for his dreams. So then, when I got depressed, I wasn't just grateful. I decided to fight. And when I got angry about not being able to be in this ring, I wasn't just grateful, I decided to fight. And there was a time when I wanted to quit. And instead of walking out, she got in my ear and she said, "You don't walk out." She said, "You fight, because you need to fight for your dreams. Fight for your dreams. Fight for your dreams. And if you fight for your dreams will fight for you."
Hello, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of the 20x20 Ring Crew. We are your host, Matt. I'm alongside with my partner in crime, Joe.
What's up?
And we got some very interesting stuff to talk about today. The first thing that we need to discuss is probably one of the biggest news of the year thus far, and potentially of the year altogether. It is the reincarnation, if you will, of a career. Daniel Bryan officially back in professional wrestling. He's been officially medically cleared to compete yet again. We started talking about it a little bit on the previous episode. Hope you listened to that. And we didn't want to talk too much into it because there's a lot to talk about. And there's some things that you mentioned in the last episode that I want you to reiterate here, and that we need to go over to what potentially could be the reason to why Daniel Bryan is back in professional wrestling now.
This gets a little complicated, folks, and you're probably not going to like everything I have to say, and that's fine. Again, this is all rumor and speculation until we hear it straight fact from Daniel Bryan's mouth, as far as I'm concerned. But it goes something like this. So, he has been trying to get medically cleared for quite some time now. I would say the better part of a year, substantially.
Yeah.
So this whole time, obviously, he's been in the WWE. He's been a general manager on SmackDown, along with Shane McMahon, fulfilling that role. And that's basically what he's been doing. You have, obviously, appearances on his wife's reality show, things like that. But nothing physical, because they didn't want to risk any of that. And in general, the company always takes that approach. They don't want any of the talent to get hurt, and that's very important to me as well as a wrestling fan. You never want to see anyone get hurt in the ring for any reason,
right?
But you do want an entertaining product. So there's always this duality, this two sides of a sword, if you will, of being a wrestling fan. Because yeah, you don't want guys to get hurt, but you also want them to be super entertaining and put on great matches. And I'm not saying you have to have a very physical match to have a great match, because that is not the case. For those of you newer to wrestling, I'm talking like people who have only watched wrestling the past, 18 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a big number, but in the realm of professional wrestling, that's not a big number. You have to go back and watch older stuff in order to appreciate where I'm coming from in a fuller manner. But with Daniel Bryan here, he's been trying to get medically cleared, and he finally did that. But it was through WWE doctors or WWE approved doctors. And here's where all the rumor and speculation comes in. So he's been trying to get cleared this whole time, and to my knowledge, again, I don't know this firsthand, but this is what's going around. To my knowledge, the entire time he's been trying to get cleared, it's been through WWE approved doctors. So why all of a sudden did he become medically cleared? There's a huge possible reason, and it has to do with New Japan Pro Wrestling. A few months back, Daniel Bryan pretty much stated clearly to the company, I'm looking to get back into professional wrestling, and if I can't wrestle here, I'm going to let my contract expire out, and I will go pursue other avenues in my career against the WWE's better judgment, not necessarily Daniel Bryan's. I think it's important to note here that everybody should be very familiar with themselves and know their body, know what you are and are not capable of, especially these guys who basically take risk every time they go into the ring. Because you have to look at it, it's not just you yourself in that ring. You have someone else in there, sometimes multiple people.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things can go wrong really easily. Not just from yourself, but other people doing them to you. So there's a lot of risk in the ring, obviously. That should be a no-brainer. But Daniel Bryan basically put this ultimatum on the company, on WWE, and he was serious. And I think that's what finally pushed the WWE to get him medically cleared. Now, I'm not saying that they did this on purpose with malicious intent, but I really do think they did it to hold on to a talent, a big talent. Because let's face it, if he went and he left the WWE, within inside of a week, he shows up medically cleared, even just to go and introduce himself to a New Japan audience, that's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Huge news in the industry of professional wrestling. If you guys go back, for those of you who are familiar, and pay close attention to what happened with the NWO years ago, you had Hall and Nash come in, and they started making waves, and then they added Hogan to the mix. And I'm not saying Hogan wasn't the biggest reason for their success, because he isn't, but he also is. But you have to pay really close attention to one other person in this. That is Sean Waltman, aka Six, aka X-Pac. When he jumped ship and went to WCW, it was a huge burst of momentum in that scenario with the NWO. And I only say that because it translated on screen. They brought in their real life friend, and it wasn't Shawn Michaels, and it wasn't anyone else that they were super close with, that they weren't part of the clique with. It was Sean Waltman. And for them to have him there, granted, again, I'll give Hogan's credit, I give him credit where credit is due, but only to a certain extent, because it's not the same as having the opportunity to work with one of your best friends. It's just not. There's a difference between working with your best friend, and there's a different difference in working just for business.
Yeah, I mean, Hogan was the logo, pretty much. The guy that people recognize. That was basically it.
I mean, smart business on their part.
Yeah, absolutely.
But these are two different experiences that people are having.
Right.
And it's only by nature. So that one guy brought all that momentum with him. And you see what happened. You see all the success that they had. So you can apply that same idea here to this situation with Daniel Bryan. If he were to show up in New Japan Pro Wrestling, not that they already don't have momentum, because they do, just like Hall and Nash did, but you add Daniel Bryan to the mix, and it gets amplified 10, 11-fold.
Yeah, you start to get what you're going to get if you had that, was you have all these so-called wrestling fans that really, let's just face facts, they're just WWE marks, that's it. Now they're going to be interested in that product as well. And whether they watch the whole card or they like the whole card, it doesn't matter. they will do enough to get New Japan over financially, even more so, especially out here in the States, just by having the intrigue in what Daniel Bryan is doing and why he went over there, to see what he's doing over there. And not only that too, but you're also going to have those wrestling fans that are still ignorant to the product and probably will like it if they gave it a chance, and this would be their way of being introduced to that.
Yeah, it would be their way in to watching New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. Daniel Bryan was my way of getting into Ring of Honor. I admittedly wasn't in the Ring of Honor until I did about, I'd say 5-6 years of them being around, just because I didn't know about them. And that was my ignorance. And when I saw Daniel Bryan for the first time, I was like, I got to see more of this guy. He was kind of already out the door at that point, but I had seen enough in Ring of Honor to where it's like, okay, I need to watch every single thing that they've ever released, as well as the future. And I did. And just because I don't have a life. But I see exactly what you mean. It's a way of just saying you can't have him. He's ours. His contract, just for anyone keeping score out there, I don't know if he officially re-signed an extension of any kind, but according to Daniel Bryan himself on a recent interview, his contract expires September 1st of this year, 2018. So there's that to play with. They're running out of time.
They are running out of time, and again, I don't want to sit here and kick rumors around, but September 1st, there's a show in Chicago. It's called All In. If you're not familiar, I'm just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. If that's all I gotta say. That'd be interesting.
It's funny because he's not the only one. I don't want to get too much off topic here, but Daniel Bryan is not the only one who is unhappy at that company right now, and really wants to do something different, and might possibly be leaving, and might possibly be at All In. And this other person that I'm speaking about is Goldust. And the only reason I bring it up is because Cody is one of the people putting on the show. So having his little brother there being such an important part of the show, who's to say that he doesn't jump ship and go do this show, this this outlaw mud show for all you old schoolers out there.
Yeah, going back to Daniel Bryan again, I'm really intrigued now with the contract situation, if he re-signed or he didn't. If I was in his shoes, I wouldn't resign for one specific reason, and that is use WWE as same thing with anybody in any kind of business. If you work for a company, and I currently work for a company right now, that they're giving me all this knowledge and everything, and who's to say I don't take that knowledge and go somewhere else, go somewhere better? Same thing goes with Daniel Bryan. So he has to test himself out as far as in ring, and can he physically still go? And I'm not just talking about the ring rust and all that stuff, which I'm sure will exist, but also the type of movesets that he can do. How much does he change? How much is he afraid to do? How much is he able to do as far as the leash that I'm assuming is going to be put on him to some extent? And you have a great platform to showcase that. And then come September 1st, you make your decision and say, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay, or I'm going to go and exercise myself. Or not exercise myself, but go and take myself somewhere else and showcase that elsewhere, my skills somewhere else. And if I was him, I would leave that so far wide open right now, because there's so many questions that are going to be unanswered from now until then, and he shouldn't tie himself down to any contract until he's 100% sure what the future holds for him.
Very true. And you have to think about this too. When he left the Indies and became property of the WWE, it was a completely different world than it is now.
Yeah.
The indie scene is booming, and he literally could go anywhere and be with anybody,
right? And
as an independent worker. And again, I'm sure he might be taking a pay cut. He might not be taking a pay cut, depending on who he's going to wrestle. But he would have all that freedom. And let's face it, if you're unhappy and you work for a company, that's usually your number one priority, is to get some sort of freedom out of it.
Yeah, I mean, let's put this in perspective. So you and I live by a high school that is putting on a wrestling show. It's like their own thing. It's not a company that's doing it. And we looked at the tickets, and we were just blown away by just how high they are. And from my understanding, they're actually selling pretty decently. And the same thing goes with a Ring of Honor show. To try to get front row tickets at a Ring of Honor show is damn near impossible these days. The price of admission is not as cheap as it used to be. No. And there's a reason for that. It's because there's competition now. There used to be a time where we can go sit third row at a Ring of Honor show for like $25-$30 a seat. That don't happen no more.
No.
And I'm not complaining about it. You know, to the WWE shows, like, are they as expensive as third row WWE shows? No, they're not. But so many people think of independent wrestling and they think of, oh, it's these backyard gymnasium nobodies that just can't make it in the big time. But you don't understand, like, these guys are the big time, gymnasium or not.
I think a lot of people look at indie wrestling, a lot of uninformed people look at indie wrestling and think that the venue makes the wrestler. And that's just not true. It's the wrestler that makes the venue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, and so if we're talking just money here, I think we only have to go back to Cody Rhodes. Again, a guy who is funding his own 10,000 person arena show. I mean, granted with the Young Bucks, but 3 guys who are funding their own show, and he did that by doing indie wrestling. The amount of money that he's making, I don't know the exact quote, but I know Cody has been quoted saying he's basically making the same amount he was making in WWE.
More is
yeah.
He's been quoted as saying he's making more.
So I stand corrected here. Yeah, he's making more money. He's making more money. He makes his own schedule for the most part. I mean, what's not to love there? If you're a guy who's coming off of a concussion injury to the point where you were forced to retire because of it, wouldn't you want to just do everything on your own terms? Say, hey, I don't know about this. Maybe I shouldn't do this. I'm not saying Daniel Bryan's going to be on a full-time schedule where he's working all these bullshit house shows that they do, because there's no reason why you need to be working 4 or 5 days a week, every week. You know, we talked about the WrestleMania weekend where, yeah, some guys work, like Matt Riddle, who's working
8 times?
8 to 10 times, yeah. That's fine. You know, you do that, and then you'll probably lay low for a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know. But again, you make your own schedule. Here, it's just like, well, we got to be in, you know, some small town here and some small town here, but then we're going to be in a bigger city here. And it's like, well, do I have to do all these other small town things? Not saying I'm against small towns, but your body can only do so much. You look at Seth Rollins, who tore 3 ligaments in a knee on one move that you look at it, it's like, well, how did he get hurt from that? But from what the doctor said, it's overused knee. Oh, okay, well, we're gonna have him, instead of saying we're gonna have him work less matches, what they did was we're gonna have him do less stuff in the ring. So we're gonna make his matches shittier, but we gotta make sure he still works the same amount of matches. You know, you work for that company that just doesn't get it. It's like they don't get the body and how that works. Instead, you can go work for, you don't have to work for anybody. You can be a freelancer and work your own schedule. You don't want to work in Japan this month? Don't. You don't have to. Fine. You can go work for this, or you can go work for that, or you can take the month off. It's your choice. And that just seems to me a no-brainer, especially when we're talking about a guy who has to be careful from now until the rest of his career.
Essentially, yeah. But let's say extra careful, because everybody should be.
Oh yeah,
be careful. Yeah, if he's smart, and I know he is, he'll do exactly what Matt's described. He'll take the time, and he won't necessarily re-sign a contract with the WWE, and that's what he'll do. It'll be like a long feeling out process.
Yeah.
You know, this basically taking the stance of, hey, I'm gonna, you know, I'm medically cleared now. I'm going to quote unquote wrestle for you guys, and we'll see how it goes. But it doesn't mean I'm signing a contract. And then take his ass out of there come September 1st. Show up in Chicago, please. Yeah. And then from there, hey, you're back on the independent scene, and hey, if you choose to go sign a contract with someone like New Japan, you'll probably be making a hell of a lot more money in the long run, and you'll be a much happier person with your career.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about it. Look at him now, and I don't know his personal life. I don't. It's not my business, of course, but here he gets to be Bryan Danielson. He gets to be a father more. He gets to be a husband more. And those are obviously really important things, of course, more important in his wrestling career. And on top of that, you get to have the quality of matches that I know he's been, as a fan of his, knows that he's been craving for a long time now. You're not going to get that in WWE. I'm not saying that there's not a guy like a Shinsuke Nakamura or an AJ Styles or guys like that who you can't have great matches with, but we can't neglect to talk about the beast that we're dealing with here in WWE. And let's face it, they're going to put him in there with a Brock Lesnar. They're going to put him in there with a Roman Reigns. They're going to put him in there with, a Jinder Mahal or a Randy Orton, snooze fest.
Yeah, eventually those are possible options, unfortunately. And that's a beef that both Matt and I share in this, and it's that you're just because you have him, you're going to utilize him, and you're not going to utilize him properly. Obviously he has to be extra careful, and with that being said, you would want him to have less matches, but quality matches. Right. And I don't think they're going to take that approach. I really don't.
This might be a silly example, and I don't even know the name of the movie, but there's an older, maybe over 10-year-old Eddie Murphy movie where I think it was Eddie Murphy, where he was only allowed to say X amount of words, and then after that he couldn't speak anymore. I can't tell you the name of it. I never seen it, but I just remember the trailer for it. And so he basically had to choose his words wisely. So essentially it's kind of like this, where more than likely, again, I'm not a doctor. I never looked at his brain, or I don't know anything about what's going on in that sense, but I would hazard a guess that Daniel Bryan is on limited match count. We don't know the exact count it is, but let's say it's 20 matches. Okay? Okay. Does that sound like a fair number?
Sure.
20 matches. That's what you have. Do you really want to waste it on these WWE guys that don't have a whole lot of talent in comparison to a Kazuchika Okada or a Kenny Omega or Cody Rhodes? Do you really want to waste it on a Jinder Mahal or Miz? I know everyone wants to see the Miz and Daniel Bryan. You don't need to see that.
No,
you don't.
No one needs to see that.
If you were, and there's good people out there you're stupid, that right there should be the first thing they do. Hey, I guess I'm the biggest idiot in the world, because that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, sorry folks, I don't need to see the Miz versus Daniel Bryan. And the Miz has the Miztourage with him. No. Yeah, no, thank you.
It's silly gimmick bullshit that Daniel Bryan just doesn't need anymore in his career. He needs to just be what he wants to be. He's a wrestler. Even during the time when they weren't allowed to say wrestler, he was calling himself a wrestler. That's what he is. That's what he, since the day a day after he graduated high school, he drove down to San Antonio, Texas, trained with Shawn Michaels to be a wrestler. That's what he does. And again, you have the guys that you can put quality matches with against. Again, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. I would like to see him against Seth Rollins. I know you're not the biggest Seth Rollins fan, but that would be, to me, I think they can put on a good match. I really can. I really do. But even if you put them in those matches with those guys, Bobby Roode's another guy that stands out to me. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have great quality matches because, again, there's a lot of restrictions. For example, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a Styles clash in the WWE. We got banned moves apparently. We can do a pedigree, but we can't do a Styles clash. He's got to do a phenomenal forearm. These are my issues with WWE. You take a guy like AJ Styles and you say, here, do a forearm as your finisher. That's bullshit.
It's a thing now. It's a thing. Speaking of banned moves and talking about, we are in WrestleMania season with WrestleMania about a week away now at this point.
Yeah.
there was an article released about banned moves for WrestleMania weekend in the state of Louisiana. So it's not just one promotion or another. It's for everybody putting on a wrestling show or a sports entertainment show in the state of Louisiana for WrestleMania weekend. There are to be no pile drivers of any sort.
Okay.
No 450 splashes of any sort. There's a list of banned moves, but those two came to mind right away. I mention this because it's kind of shady, to be honest with you. The State Athletic Commission, which has always been, they're like a forever nemesis when it comes to pro wrestling and pro wrestling shows. But they are basically saying that there's only 2 promotions that are operating in the state of Louisiana that weekend that are allowed to basically to have no banned moves. And those 2 promotions are the WWE and Ring of Honor. They were given the credentials of the big leagues by the State Athletic Commission. Everybody else who's running a show can't do those moves. I found that really interesting. You have that scenario going on, but on top of that, keep in mind, folks, on top of that, not only when you're going place to place, location to location, you have that to worry about. You have a state athletic commission or some sort of athletic commission that will possibly limit you.
I always forget about those.
And then on top of it, you have the WWE instilling their own bans because they don't want their athletes to get hurt. But it's still going to happen. It's just going to happen another way, and that's the unfortunate thing about them. You know, look at Seth Rollins. He had the injury to his knee for having an overworked knee. The maneuver he was trying to do at the time, they don't want him to do anymore. But that doesn't, it puts a Band-Aid on a gaping wound because his knee is already torn to shreds.
Yeah.
It's not the same knee, it once was.
Right.
And just because he's not doing that move now, it doesn't excuse him from becoming hurt again. So I think the WWE is taking this approach. It's like it's too serious in a negative manner. You could ban whatever fucking moves you want. It doesn't mean your talent's gonna not get hurt.
Yeah.
That's logic. That should be common sense. So you have that going too. This whole Daniel Bryan thing, I agree. There's got to be some arbitrary number of matches that he has left in him.
By the way, that Eddie Murphy movie was called 1,000 Words.
It was called 1,000 Words. So.
It was a flop. That's why I forgot about it.
I mean, let's hope there's 1,000 matches left in Daniel Bryan.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. That would mean we would have. I mean, unless he's got like the Zack Sabre Jr. approach. I mean, that would be like 5 years for Zack Sabre Jr. But
Zack Sabre Jr. Matt and I just read on the
Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
They put out report cards for 2017.
Oh God, yeah.
And I don't take too much stock in any magazine that relates to pro wrestling, let alone Pro Wrestling Illustrated. For your old schoolers out there, it's one of those after mags, and you're either gonna like the stuff. I mean, you're not gonna like all the stuff in there all the time. I think that's should be common knowledge. But we were reading the 2017 report cards. It was a very confusing situation for the both of us. You had, if I'm not mistaken, we were talking about Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah.
And they put in their information about how Zack Sabre Jr. had wrestled unofficially 136 times over the course of the 2017 year. And he obviously held multiple championships.
Yep.
What was that, 7 different countries?
7 different countries, yeah.
So he's got all this going for him, and they give him a B+.
A B+.
So they gave him a B+.
Standards should be high then, right? You would think.
But
go on.
I'm going to let you divulge this one. Who did they give an A+ to?
They gave an A+ to a guy that many believe to be a Universal Champion. I can't tell because he's never there. Brock Lesnar. And the reason why they did that, because he worked a busy schedule in Brock Lesnar terms. 14 matches.
Folks,
Let that sink in.
Yeah, you don't have to be good at math to know that 14 matches is way different than 136.
Yeah, and there's an important thing about these 136. Most of them, not all, but most of them average. So actually, take that back. The average of those 136 matches were 20 minutes. So on average, he's wrestling 20 minutes. Brock Lesnar probably wrestled like 3 matches in total that reached under 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there was the debacle in Chicago over here.
Yeah.
Where it was, 35 seconds tops?
Yeah, I mean, well, that was this year. That was 2018, technically.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah,
It's
you're absolutely right, yeah.
It's the same kind of match. He has the same kinds of matches.
Yeah. I mean, this is the level of stupidity that you and I go through all the time. And I was just talking. I mentioned this right before we hit record. Are we real wrestling fans? Him and I, because we just don't seem to understand what everybody else sees. And guys like Brock Lesnar and guys like Braun Strowman, or being completely marked out about Daniel Bryan coming back. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that he's back. And I want him whatever he wants in his career, that's what I want. Whatever he wants.
And he's not going to get it with the WWE. I'm sorry, folks. It's just not going to happen.
And for people who don't understand that and don't see what you and I are talking about, I understand it's just two guys. We're just two guys, and it's just our opinion. But it's like, I don't understand why you think it's okay. You know, so many people have said, "Oh, he's going to be Braun Strowman's secret partner." Why is that even coming out of your mouth? Why? You know, or it's like, oh, now we're going to see Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. It's like, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares about that match? Play it on the fucking video game. Like, that, if you want to see that match that bad. That's a stupid match.
We are all for fantasy matches here at the 20x20 crew. We love to see our favorites in the ring booked against fantasy opponents all the time. But to sit there and say something like, oh, that would be great if he was Braun Strowman's mystery partner at WrestleMania.
Terrible.
Yeah, that's a pretty fucking horrible idea. And either you're not thinking, or you're just a horrible fucking person in general. I gotta say, hopefully you're just not thinking. I would hope that you're not a terrible person, but you can't go into this situation with that kind of a mentality. He's not an object. He's just not.
Yeah, for anybody that disagree with us, again, that's completely fine. That's what we want. We want conversation.
You can send your hate tweets to @20x20 crew, 20x20 crew on Twitter.
Yes, you could do that, but also too, somebody out there, please, instead of just calling us a bunch of names and laughing at us, explain. Maybe we're missing something here. I don't think we are, because I'm very open-minded when it comes to a lot of things, especially professional wrestling. You have to be a wrestling fan. I just don't see what everybody else sees.
You know what? I take it back. Don't send your hate tweets just yet, because if you're going to send a response like, because, then don't. Just don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
I mean, I'm taking my glasses off because I have a headache because of this conversation. So... when it comes to Daniel Bryan, his time off, though, I know you talked about another topic when it came to that, to the reason why, and it involved Roman Reigns. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that theory?
Yeah, there's another theory going out there where... So, let's look at Roman Reigns as a character, as a performer for WWE. I think it's pretty common knowledge these days that a lot of people have a certain feeling about Roman Reigns and the way he's being pushed. A lot of people feel that he has been shoved down the fans' throats time and time again, and being booked as a top guy when he hasn't necessarily risen to the occasion, or a lot of people feel that he's not worthy of that title. Myself being one of them. Does Roman Reigns have the potential to be a top guy? Of course. Go back and take a look at the matches he had with AJ Styles over the past 3 or 4 years. Every time those two step in the ring, Roman Reigns immediately gets better. Immediately. Now, that's direct credit to AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Because AJ Styles is, no pun intended, a phenomenal worker. He knows how to get people over. He knows how to do his job. He thinks about the other guy in the ring. The company doesn't get this, and they just keep booking Roman Reigns for all these top spots when it should probably be someone else. I get it that they need stars, but this is not the way to go about doing it. And what they're going to do is they're going to slowly alienate enough fans to where Roman Reigns will never have the opportunity he should probably get, if that makes any sense. So follow me here.
Okay.
You have Roman Reigns in that situation with the company. Enter Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan wants to come back. Daniel Bryan wants to be cleared. And this whole time, the company is putting the kibosh on it time and time again. Again, with their doctor. Oh, you're not ready. You're not ready to be cleared. What happens in the interim? What happens while Daniel Bryan is forced to be a mouthpiece for a SmackDown brand? Roman Reigns gets push after push after push. So there's this theory out there that the company is purposely holding back, was purposely holding Daniel Bryan's career down by not getting him medically cleared, just so that Roman Reigns could have these opportunities. Now again, folks, this is just speculation and rumor, and I know I probably sound all like Dave Meltzer right now, but it is an interesting theory. I will give it that. Do I necessarily think it's true? No, but it is also not out of the realm of possibility of being such a stupid fucking idea that they actually do something. Because let's face it, there's a lot of time and money invested in Roman Reigns in that company. So why not? Why not do something? So you're gonna have a lot of opinions about this.
Well,
Everybody is.
It goes back to, well, first of all, before I say that, if anyone thinks that is 100% impossible, you got to remember who owns the most stock in WWE. It's Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
And stranger things have happened for the company.
Yeah, and you talk about stupid storyline maker. It's Vince McMahon. Case in point, if you had never seen the McMahon documentary, which is a WWE documentary, I don't know if it's on the network or not.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. But there was this is coming from Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, by the way. I don't know which daughter it was. It might have been Stephanie's first daughter. So when she got pregnant, Vince had this idea of, we're going to do an angle where basically Vince is going to be the biological father of Stephanie's daughter. And that was going to be the angle. And I don't exactly remember the details, but I just remember hearing Stephanie was pretty much like awkwardly smiling the entire time she was talking about it, and Triple H was just shaking his head the entire time talking about it. Like, we're not doing the storyline. We're not. Oh, it's going to be great. Like, people are just going to be completely shocked. Yeah, for all the wrong reasons. That's a stupid storyline. So this is the same guy that wanted to do a storyline where he was having a kid with his own daughter. So I don't think that's completely far fetched.
Yeah. And that's one example, folks.
We're talking about inbreeding here. Yeah. So, yeah, there's plenty of other examples, but to not get off topic too much here, going back to Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, you got to remember, I don't know the exact year, but it's not a few years ago. It was speculated that Daniel Bryan was going to be number 30 in the Royal Rumble match, and out comes Roman Reigns, who already competed that night. So nobody thought it was going to be Roman Reigns, because usually that doesn't happen. I say it's never happened, but usually that doesn't happen.
I was pretty pissed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily because Daniel Bryan wasn't coming out. I mean, there is that, but I just legitimately thought Roman Reigns wasn't going to be coming back for the night.
and they did it the year before with Rey Mysterio, where it was going to be, I don't know if it was Daniel Bryan again, but it ended up being Rey Mysterio. Yep. And the crowd turned on Rey Mysterio. But with Roman Reigns, it started with Daniel Bryan, and everyone was geeked out. It was going to be Daniel Bryan. Some people said it was going to be I don't know if Finn Balor was around, but there was somebody else too. But Daniel Bryan was the main guy, and out comes Roman Reigns, and it was like, what the fuck? And so maybe it was like, well, obviously we can't get Roman Reigns over. This Daniel Bryan guy's hanging around, so. Yeah, I'm not saying they're the reason why he's injured and all that stuff, but if you have the opportunity to hold him back to make $1, they would. I believe they would.
Yeah, it's business, folks. I mean,
I would say I don't fully believe it. I think I still, even saying all that, I still think it's a little bit of a stretch. Having said that, though, if this ever gets to be proven true, you're not going to see me like wide-eyed, like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm going to more or less shake my head like, these motherfuckers. They did it again. But yeah, it's an interesting topic. It's an interesting theory, though.
Very interesting. And again, these next couple months are going to be very, very interesting and full of content for dirt sheets. let's face it, just the mere fact that he's back in the ring and performing on any level there's tons of fodder for the dirt sheets. So, Dave Meltzer, you should be thanking Bryan Danielson at least for the next few months.
Yeah. I think after everything that we talked about, the frustration too, I have to say, just in general, even if I have to see him do his entire remainder of his career in a WWE ring, I'm still happy that he still gets to do this again, because obviously this is what he loves.
It's very bittersweet for me.
Yeah,
because I do, I want call me crazy, but I want everyone who has any kind of a job in this world to be happy with what they do.
Yeah.
And especially those people entertaining me. I want them to be happy, because I think it translates over to their performance. If you have a happy worker, they're going to perform better for you. So why not? Why not give them what they want? As long as it's within the realm of possibility. Obviously, I'm not asking for him to go out and just go completely wild man and avoid safety and things like that. But yeah, if it's possible for him to come back and wrestle, oh my God, yes. We love Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, when it comes to guys wrestling and dealing with the possibility of injuries, I kind of stand the same ground I feel with anybody else. The reason why I'm not stoked about Kurt Angle coming back and wrestling matches again, you look at a guy who probably shouldn't be like walking without a cane at this point, the way as bad as it is. So you talk about somebody who is dealing with severe injury problem, being prone to injuries. It doesn't get any bigger than that. So if you're going to come back, you have to come back. Like, yeah, you got to watch what you do a little bit, but you can't just completely neglect everything that brought you to dance to begin with. If you have to completely alter your entire moveset just so you can not get hurt to the point where you're tragically hurting your brain at this point or any other body part, then you probably shouldn't be out there at all. So yeah, there's going to be some alterations that need to be done, and I think that's going to be figured out sooner than later, hopefully. But if Daniel Bryan or anybody else ever has to completely change what they are just so they don't get hurt, you're basically playing the game to not get hurt, so to thrive and be the best at this point. And there's no point. So when it comes to the Daniel Bryan thing, I just don't want him. I don't want him to be a shell of what he used to be. And I know that sounds mean, but I don't. As a paying customer, I don't want to see that. And as a guy that I don't know him, but from what I've seen, Daniel Bryan's a guy that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I don't want that for him, just for the sense that it's deep down. I know that it wouldn't fulfill the void that's been missing ever since he had to retire a couple years ago.
Very true.
So
we're gonna pause for the cause and go pay some bills. So hang with us.
This edition of the 20 by 20 Ring Crew has been brought to you by Amazon. Get your Amazon Prime subscription today. You get unlimited music, unlimited ebooks, unlimited movies and TV shows available through their Amazon Prime subscription, as well as free 2-day shipping on many products through Amazon.com, as well as in certain areas, 1-day shipping. So if you're an impatient person like me, you can get 1-day shipping. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, don't forget the unlimited photo storage, too. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't have anything on my photo storage as of yet, at least nothing I could share with the public, but
ooh.
It's photos of me and Kenny Omega. Are you jealous?
I don't even want to talk about it. Tell them where to go. That's all I got to say.
You can find more information on Amazon Prime subscription through us, and by doing so, you'll help us here at the show. You don't have to pay anything extra. You sign up for Amazon Prime through us. You get 30 days try out Amazon Prime. You can cancel anytime. We still get the love from Amazon. Go ahead and check us out at 20x20crew.com/podcast/Amazon.
We are back. Thank you for hanging with us. We're going to continue talking about Daniel Bryan, and we're going to, I guess, take out our crystal balls a little bit, or at least what we hope to be our crystal balls and see into the future, because we're going to talk about the possible future of what Daniel Bryan's career could be, depending on what decisions he makes. Essentially, we're going to do that by doing so. We're gonna fantasy book a lot here and talk about potential matches that we could see now that Daniel Bryan's back. Because as soon as he left, and even before he retired, I should say, there was a lot of, man, I'd love to see Daniel Bryan versus this guy, Daniel Bryan versus that guy. And even matches in which he's been in ring with certain guys before, to have him in the ring with them now at this level when things have changed, because wrestling has changed not only since he's been gone and since he's been retired, but since he left the independents and came to WWE, so much has changed, as we talked about earlier. So we're going to fantasy book here, and you want to start? You got anything?
You know what? I think we should start with the WWE.
Okay.
Being that he's going to be stuck there for at least the next couple months.
Yeah, at least until September.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to start, and this will give this will lend some levity to the situation. So, thinking about it, right away, I know of at least two guys I want him to go up against, but I'm going to save those for last.
Okay.
I don't think he should be booked against The Miz. I know there's a lot of people out there that want that match to happen.
Yeah.
Nothing against Miz. I think he makes a great heel.
He's a good character.
Yeah, it's a good character. He definitely does his job when it comes to that, but his in-ring work, I'm sorry, man. If I only had so many matches left and I was at the caliber of Daniel Bryan, guess what? I'm gonna pull that card. I'm gonna be that guy and be like, you know what? I'm sorry, I got other people to face.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, no Miz. Out of sheer curiosity, but again, I probably wouldn't book him against this guy. But out of sheer curiosity, I wonder if they will do anything with him and Bray Wyatt.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if it's going to happen.
They've done stuff before in the past.
They have.
Yeah.
But to me, it's one of those situations where Bray Wyatt doesn't have a whole lot going on, and there's no one to feud with him. Why not Daniel Bryan? And again, I'm not of that. I don't agree with it, but
yeah,
it does intrigue me. Like, will they actually do this? Earlier, you and I talked about Seth Rollins, and yeah, I'm not the biggest Seth Rollins fan, but there's potential there for it to be a hell of a good match. And even with Rollins coming back from injuries and things like that, I think there's a lot of potential for it to become something much. It would be like a synergistic experience.
Yeah.
For the both of them.
What I love about that match is you have two absolute workhorses going at it. So, if anything, it's just going to be competitive in that sense.
Yes. And then I also don't want him to be booked against Brock Lesnar. We've already saw that. Hopefully, at this point, come a week from today, that'll be the last we see of Brock Lesnar for a long time.
If ever.
I don't want him to be booked against John Cena, although that's probably going to happen.
Ugh, why?
Why
do you say that?
I say that because let's face it, John Cena post WrestleMania, you're not going to have Taker around, no matter the outcome of that situation.
True.
You're not going to have Taker around. There's really not going to be anything for Cena to go into for another program.
Yeah.
And it might happen. And they could use the angle of, they are brother-in-laws or brothers-in-law, however you would say that. Yeah. So there is that opportunity. Is it an easy opportunity to take advantage of? Of course it is. Does that mean it's more likely to happen? In this case, yeah, probably.
Well, there's two things that...
But I don't want it to happen.
Yeah. nobody should. There's two things that I got to say to that. One is a question, and I don't know if you can answer this or not.
I can't see him. No one can.
I wish I couldn't. I wish that was true. I wish he could just wave his hand in front of his face and he'd be gone. So John Cena is a 16-time world champion.
Yeah, please don't remind me of that.
And the reason why I bring that up is it seems that if John Cena is not in the title picture, then they don't have John Cena around. And you have the Universal title. Does that count as a world title? And if it doesn't, just have him fight Reigns for the title. Have him feud with Reigns for the Universal title.
Well, we talked about that in our WrestleMania episode, episode 7. There's 2 parts there, so make sure you listen to them both. But yeah, we talked about John Cena and him possibly getting involved in the Reigns match at WrestleMania between Reigns and Lesnar. So there's a possibility. There's a possibility of that happening. And
that.
And you know what? That would, again, it's a feud we've already seen before, and what have you. That would be a smart way to book that is to have Cena and Reigns go at it again in another program, this time with the guarantee that there is no Brock Lesnar to be involved.
Yeah.
So I think that immediately lends a little more credibility to the situation. So we'll see. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But
the other thing too about John Cena is, as far as having nothing to do, that's okay, because I thought he was in the middle of doing 2 movies. I mean, isn't he still going to film for Bumblebee? Isn't that still happening? And also, too, for those who don't know yet, he was just announced to, as a video game enthusiast, this kind of bums me out, but he was announced to do the starring role, the title character of the new Michael Bay rendition of Duke Nukem. I don't see that being any good, but he's still got to play the part since he got hired. So something to do.
I don't know.
Do that.
Yeah, I don't know when all that's going down with John Cena, but I will say that. Yeah, I hope he's not around much.
Do Ferdinand too.
Something, yeah. Go do something and not Russell Daniel Bryan. So the other 2 guys that are obvious to probably most people, one being AJ Styles, which it isn't. I mean, obviously they wrestled each other before in outside of the company, but you would want that match to happen because AJ's the kind of worker that you could not only trust Daniel Bryan's career with, but he'll put him over.
Yeah.
And that's what you want out of it. And if they were smart, they would bide their time very wisely and work long programs with Daniel Bryan so that he didn't have to wrestle a whole lot or feel the need to wrestle a whole lot and still get quality matches. And one of those people that you could do that with is AJ Styles.
Mm-hmm.
The other person, again, they should do this with, fantasy booking here, Shinsuke Nakamura. Again, he's the caliber of AJ Styles. You should be able to trust him in there with Daniel Bryan. A lot of people want to see this match happen. Will we ever get it? I don't know, but that they should book that. They should book that, and it should be a WrestleMania match. To be honest with you.
Yeah, if they did that match, I would implore them to quit fucking around with both of those guys. This needs to be strong style. A strong style as both guys. Because really, let's face it, Daniel Bryan has a lot of strong style wrestling.
He does, but I'm sure you realize this, but the WWE's version of strong style is not necessarily strong style.
That was my point. Is quit fucking around with it and let them do strong style wrestling, because that right there again, especially, and I talked about this in the last episode. You know, if this is a WrestleMania match, it definitely totally is a WrestleMania worthy caliber match. But you talk about the showcase of the Immortals. This is supposed to be the event that stands out to everybody in a sense of this is the be all end all. This is supposed to be the greatest wrestling show of the year. And I don't know the last time in which WrestleMania was the greatest wrestling show of the year. This certainly could do that. And Daniel Bryan and Shinsuke together, I feel the moment that bell rings would have instant chemistry. And it would give Shinsuke versus AJ Styles a run for its money.
Very much agreed. You also don't want him to be booked against the likes of Jinder Mahal, like we just said earlier in the episode. Again, a caliber similar to The Miz, where he does have those great heel tendencies, but his in-ring work is just, I'm sorry, it's not on par with what's going on with Daniel Bryan. And so I would not book him against Jinder Mahal.
Or Randy Orton, just because he's just goddamn boring.
You're right. I mean, I agree with you, but yeah, I think for every match going forward, no matter who you're booking Daniel Bryan against, that has to be one of the criteria. Is it has to be a match that is going to be bonkers. It's got to be, because again, he's limited. He's going to be limited, whether he wants to wrestle that way or not. They're not going to let him just go out and go balls to the wall. They're just not.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, realistically, you can't. Not anymore.
Not anymore. So it's one thing to be a normal WWE worker and have those safety stipulations put into place, but they're going to be extra cautious with Daniel Bryan, letting him get in the ring. So, and then obviously he's got a tag team match at WrestleMania against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Both of those guys he could be booked against, but would you want that? Obviously, they all have history together, working for Ring of Honor, so they should be all familiar with themselves. They should all be familiar with themselves.
Yeah.
And there would be some sort of in-ring chemistry. Does that equate a good match? Not all the time, but in this case, again, it would have to be, the juice would have to be worth the squeeze, so to speak. You would want whatever they're doing in that match or those matches, respectively, it would have to be completely over. And against AJ Styles or against Shinsuke Nakamura, those are easy sells.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of hype you can put around those matches. I don't know if they would get the same exact effect with a Sami Zayn or a Kevin Owens. So, I'm not so sure. I would love to see those matches again, but I'm not sure if that'll happen.
You know, for me, and I don't know, maybe I'll get laughed at this one. Not necessarily by you, but as far as fantasy booking goes in WWE, I don't need to go anywhere besides Orlando, Florida, or in this case now Atlanta, Georgia. Those guys in NXT, there's a long list, a laundry list of guys that stand out as potential opponents, standout opponents that do everything that you mentioned above, where it's getting everything over, getting both guys over, as well as great in-ring action, and as well as guys that we've never seen.
Very true, and the only problem here is let's think along the lines of the WWE here.
Yeah,
it's a brand thing. It's, you know, they're
Call them up then.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're all considered. All the NXT people are considered the lower brand.
Yeah, it's
and I'm not. I don't feel that way.
right. No, I totally get what you're saying. It's a marketing. It's what they do. Everything has a stupid trademark next to it. You're on the B show. You're on the C show. But another thing though that they've done in the past, they have had guys and girls go down to NXT to say, hey, this so and so is doing really big things right now. Why don't you go get a taste of that? Why don't you go be a part of that? And they've done it. We saw it with Cesaro. Cesaro went down to NXT to have phenomenal matches with Sami Zayn. As a matter of fact, the very first live match on the WWE Network was Cesaro versus Sami Zayn. Back when Sami Zayn was in NXT, Cesaro was already established wrestler on the WWE and the main roster. So you could do that. But you look at these guys. You look at the first one that pops in my head is Adam Cole. And Adam Cole was, he was super brand new to Ring of Honor by the time that Daniel Bryan left. I don't know if Future Shock was a thing yet, but maybe not. But he was just starting out. So those guys, we talk about fantasy booking, you talk about timelines and guys that, well, we never got a chance to see this because the timeline was off. Daniel Bryan, he went to the WWE. He's now exclusive. He's no longer able to have matches with all these other guys because of where his contract is telling him he can what he can and cannot do. And now they're on the same. They work for the same team. Whether brand stuff, whatever or not. If you're WWE, you're the smartest company. If everyone says you are, make it work, make it happen. There should be no reason why you sleep on that match. Say, well, we can't do it because we want Adam Cole here and Daniel Bryan's here. No, that's dumb. Don't do that. Make that match happen. Again, another match too. Andrade Cien Almas. My God, what kind of match they would have. Aleister Black is another name. And I know he's a much bigger guy, but he is so incredibly smart and gifted in that ring. I have no doubt in my mind that he would take care of Daniel Bryan.
And by that logic, you have to throw in there the Velveteen Dream.
Velveteen Dream.
That would be one hell of a match to watch.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah, those type of, you got those caliber wrestlers down there. And, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong. How do you not? Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne is the perfect. Pete Dunne. If you're not paying attention, he'd be the first one to tell you. So much of his wrestling style is based off of Daniel Bryan, including his wrestling gear.
Yeah.
So Pete Dunne versus Daniel Bryan. That right there is a WrestleMania quality match that will never happen because it's WWE. But somewhere along the lines, make it happen. It's so. I'm glad you started in WWE because it's. Even if you're stuck there now, and if you're going to continue to be stuck down there, depending on decisions that he makes, it may not be all bad if and only if they, little programming logic there for those not paying attention. If they just do what they know deep down they should do and give good quality matches. You can figure out storylines and all the other goofy stuff, or maybe you don't. But somewhere along the lines, those are matches that could happen. And if you're going to justify staying with WWE, I would hope Daniel Bryan works something out in his contract where at least he can say, "Well, I get to pick my opponents." Something.
Yes, he wouldn't be the first to ask for some sort of creative control, as we see the red and yellow grace the screen one more time.
The king of creative control.
We are watching SummerSlam 1991 in the background on the WWE Network. Speaking of WWE, if you want some more information on how to get a subscription, you should check it out over on our website at 20x20crew.com/podcast/WWE Network. That's all one word. But getting back to the topic of Daniel Bryan and fantasy booking him, to me, it's a no-brainer. You have a hell of a roster down in NXT.
We didn't name them all either.
And we didn't name them all, but that's just a taste. And you're right. You're absolutely right. What better way to sit there and lend a little more credibility to that UK title than to have Daniel Bryan vie for it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's easy fucking booking, and it would be so over. Oh my God, it would be so
And if
over.
you talk about creative control, and again, you can say, well, you don't know that, Matt. Like, how do you know that? And I don't, okay? But what I do know is that we talked about Hogan creative control. Creative control for Hogan means I do what I want. If I don't want to do the job, I'm not going to do the job. For Daniel Bryan, I don't think that's what it means. I would bet that it's not what it means. All that it would mean is I want to fight Pete Dunne. You want me to get him over? Fine. Give me Pete Dunne. Give me 15, 20 minutes at least. That's it. We'll make it work. We'll get him over. We'll get the kid over. No problem. Let me have the match. I think that's the creative control that I'm talking about with Daniel Bryan. Not, well, I got to win.
Yeah, because at this point, that seems to be the thing. You're trying to make him happy.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you at least meet him halfway?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to be of the opinion of Hulk Hogan and get final say so on your character. I agree with Matt here. I don't think that's the issue here. If he were to pull such a thing, I think what it is getting the okays for these matches to happen. Because again, he's being looked at as extra careful. The situation, they have to handle him very delicately.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. He's coming back from a concussion related injury, and why not? Why not be extra careful? You could, in this case, folks, you can have your cake and eat it too. It just has to be done a certain way.
Yeah. And the thing is, by you saying that, I need to reiterate this though. It's not a difficult way. It's really not.
It doesn't have to be.
It shouldn't be. Yeah,
it shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be a difficult way. But let's just say now, let's say they do make it difficult, and Daniel Bryan says, "The hell with them." September 1st comes. He's not. He says, "Thank you for everything, but I'm going to go be best in the world somewhere else." Says
hopefully in Chicago for one night,
well,
September 1st. Yeah. Hoffman Estates, Sears Center, all in. Anyway.
Yeah. just a little guess of what could happen there, but you have tons of other guys that exist in the quote unquote minor leagues of professional wrestling. Anyone that says that is not a wrestling fan. You're a sports entertainment fan. There's a difference. Look it up. So, God, I mean, all right, I got to say, first name that pops in your mind outside of WWE, Daniel Bryan versus who?
Zack Sabre Jr.
I'm glad you said that, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, go take the time and YouTube Zack Sabre Jr. That's S-A-B-R-E. My mind is reeling with possibilities for this match to happen. You have more than likely the best technical wrestler in the world right now in Zack Sabre Jr. And
I don't think there's an argument with that, personally.
There shouldn't be,
yeah.
But I'm sure somebody will, especially those who call promotions he works for the minor leagues.
Yeah, I mean, to those people, The Miz would be the greatest technical wrestler.
Jesus Christ.
I've heard that.
So
I've heard that.
I bet you have. Yeah, that would be my first pick, would be Zack Sabre Jr. My first pick in a laundry list of folks for Daniel Bryan to go and work with outside of the WWE. That would be an instant mat classic. You have two workers who know their profession and their business, and they're very well versed in it. I know they would take care of each other. They wouldn't be afraid to put each other over. You guys want really good wrestling? I'm giving it to you right now.
Yeah, I agree. You honestly took mine, so I'm gonna.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. No, it's we're on the same page. That's a good thing. So I'm gonna go with this is my second pick, which I think for a lot of people would be the more obvious pick. Not obvious as in Zack Sabre Jr. isn't the better option, but the more well known, and it's Daniel Bryan versus the Cleaner, Kenny Omega. You talk about potential 5-star matches here. We talked about it with Seth Rollins being a great in-ring worker. Kenny Omega is 10 times better. He's 10 times smarter, and he knows how to tell a story inside that ring. He doesn't need a microphone to tell a story. He does it with his wrestling ability. And with Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega going at it, you thought the Jericho match was good. You thought you're gonna think the match with Cody, which as of this taping we haven't seen yet, hasn't happened. Was gonna be good. I don't think it was gonna hold any weight against what Daniel Bryan versus Kenny Omega can bring to the table.
I absolutely agree.
That's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement, but you're absolutely right. A lot of what makes Kenny Omega such a potent in-ring experience is that he is smart. He is very ring savvy for being such a young guy, and he does know how to tell a story. Sorry to a lot of the old school wrestling fans that might be listening to this podcast. You might disagree with me here, but he knows how to tell a story, at least to this generation of wrestling fans. And let's face it, that's what matters right now.
Yeah.
And as someone who respects and appreciates anything considered old school, I am also of that opinion.
Yeah, you're listening to his voice right now. There's nobody that I've ever talked to in wrestling respects old school more than you.
And with that being said, I still think that Kenny Omega is definitely more than capable, way more than capable of putting on this match and not only making it work, but making it a tremendously over match. So, to me, that's a no-brainer. Let's add that to the list. One I would love to see, and admittedly at first I thought about this, okay, just because he's a heavyweight champion right now, but he has become such a great performer in his own right. I would love to see Daniel Bryan go against the current IWGP heavyweight champion in Kazuchika Okada. Got a little tongue-tied there.
Inner Jim Ross there.
I did. Inner Jim. By God. It'd be hellacious, Matt. But, again, that one also would be a no-brainer for me.
Oh, yeah.
Okada has come such a long way in his career, and he has definitely stepped his game up.
Oh, without a doubt.
And again,
without a doubt.
Again, like I said, originally I thought of this as being a title match. But now, no.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. They could both not have to vie for any title and still put on a hell of a match. And I think this match would work well. And since we're running down the list, I'm going to throw in Tetsuya Naito, who has also come a long way. And he has proven that he is definitely someone to look at in a situation like this. I don't know how much of a language barrier there would be in both of these matches. Obviously, Daniel Bryan has done Japanese tours before. Mm-hmm. I want to say roughly 3 years worth. But regardless of the amount of lack of communication, both of those guys know wrestling, and that language they both speak very well.
Yeah.
So they would definitely be able to put on a really good match.
I wholeheartedly agree to both of those. Absolutely. And Tetsuya Naito, I'm just such a Naito mark and LIJ mark that, anything with him, I'm down. We talked about Zack Sabre Jr. and I think if we're gonna stay in Japan for right now, we also gotta look at the boss. And I'm not talking about Sasha Banks here. The real boss is Minoru Suzuki, and I don't want this one to get overlooked because we talked about strong style with Shinsuke. Doesn't get any more strong style than Minoru Suzuki. That is a hard hitting dude. The oldest guy that we've mentioned thus far out of everybody here.
Yes.
But Daniel Bryan versus Minoru Suzuki, that match right there would be such a great, hard-hitting, almost cringeworthy at times. The amount of kicks and hit and slaps that would be done in this match, as well as the great technical wrestling and strong style wrestling. That's a match that I would love to see too, because Minoru Suzuki, I know for a lot of, especially here in the States, that are becoming more I love the pattern that we're seeing where more people are watching New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is kind of what they want anyways. A lot of them come up to me and like, man, this guy Minoru Suzuki, like he's fucking out of his mind. I was like, he pretty much. But he's incredibly smart though in that ring though.
You got to remember with Suzuki, for those of you who don't know this and are new to New Japan Pro Wrestling, he used to be a shoot fighter, so he was a legit mixed martial artist, and it shows in the ring.
Yes,
so
it does.
He's probably the closest thing to a shoot fighter that any promotion has right now, I would say, other than the likes of Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, I'm on board. Minoru Suzuki versus Daniel Bryan. Add it to the list.
Add it to the list for sure. Man, we can go all day. Matt Riddle, as you just mentioned, would be another candidate. But yeah, I would love to see him do, even as a freelancer, just do tours in New Japan and to see him just go through guys, win or lose losses. Sonata is another name that is finally starting to get more buzz, and how good. Oh my God, when I see him, I'm not saying he's as good as, but I look, especially with his submissions, I think of him as like Ultimate Dragon, where he comes out of nowhere with those submissions.
He does,
and it'd be perfect matchup with Daniel Bryan, who does the exact same thing as far as coming out of nowhere with these submissions. So the point is, we can go on and on and on, and please join us on our Facebook group, the 20x20 Wrestling Talk. It is a private group, but we bring in new members all the time.
Please feel free to email us.
Email us too at 20x20crew@gmail.com. And we want to know what Daniel Bryan. First of all, we want to know what Daniel Bryan coming back to wrestling means to you, and we want to know your fantasy matches, because there's just a laundry list of guys that you can go on. We can go on all day. There's so many. There's so many.
If you let us, this would be like an 8-hour episode.
Yeah,
like no bullshit.
And we would look at him like, that's it. That's all we got. Because we would totally forget. We would leave people out. Like when we talked about Zack Sabre Jr., I was like, we gotta talk about Minoru Suzuki.
Yes.
I could go through that entire Suzuki-gun card.
And we haven't covered Ring of Honor.
No.
Yet another promotion we would love to see him step in the ring for again.
To have him return.
To
Ring of Honor. My God. Especially where Ring of Honor's at now. They have their own streaming service. They have national buzz now. They're not the same market that they used to be.
Speaking of Ring of Honor, I'm gonna kind of rewind and go back here, and I'm gonna add one more to my WWE list, because I know he's hurt right now, but I can't wait for him to come back. And
I know you're going with this.
I can't wait for him to come back and come back to a post Brock Lesnar WWE, because I think he'll finally get a major push that he is very deserving of. and that is Samoa Joe. I've seen them work together before. I know they are highly capable of putting on great fucking matches.
Yeah.
To me, that one is also a no-brainer. Samoa Joe versus Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of smart wrestlers, it's Samoa Joe, and you would have the physicality, you would have the storytelling, and then most importantly in all of this, because we can't overlook it, you would have a guy that would know how to take care of the other guy in the ring. That goes without saying. For whether you are 100% healthy or not, that's your job. You ask any wrestler, that is their job. You take care of the other guy in the ring, and Samoa Joe would be that guy. Great storytelling, great physical wrestling, great submission wrestling, which is such a lost art, especially in WWE these days. So yeah, absolutely. Like that's a match right there that I would love to see. I would love to see them do a series of matches. Those two,
for sure. And you know what? Now that I think about it, you could almost take any former Ring of Honor wrestler that works for the WWE, whether it be on Raw, SmackDown, or in NXT, and you could almost add them to the list.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. They understand that mentality that Daniel Bryan is so familiar with, because to them they are all wrestlers.
Yeah.
They are not sports entertainers. The mere fact that they're in the company right now shows you that they have to be taught how to become sports entertainers. The WWE has a certain way of doing things. That's sports entertainment. That's not professional wrestling per se.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have all of them coming into the company with the same frame of mind as a Daniel Bryan. So immediately they're able to probably put on a better match with Daniel Bryan than people who have been in the WWE for quite some time now. So,
because you have to ask yourself, do you want storytelling or do you want wrestling that can also include storytelling? I mean, have your cake and eat it too. If you do go back to the Miz match, it's all that is a storyline. That's all that is. The wrestling match is gonna be pretty mediocre at best. And I'm not saying that the Miz is a terrible wrestler. All I'm saying is that compared to Daniel Bryan,
he doesn't do his job.
Yeah, it's just compared to Daniel Bryan, he is terrible. Compared at that level.
That's where my gripe comes with those fans these days who just completely dismiss anything old school, because the old school, that is why the old school is held in such an esteem, or at least it should be, to everybody who watches wrestling or sports entertainment, because that frame of mind, that old school frame of mind, you do get the best of both worlds. You tell a story, but you also wrestle. You do your job. Because when you have both of those things happen, something really special happens in that ring for everybody to enjoy. And that's what a lot of younger fans don't understand.
You have to think of... he's the first one that popped in my head because we're currently about to see Macho Man marry Miss Elizabeth on screen. Again, we're watching SummerSlam 1991. Match made in heaven, match made in hell. This is obviously match made in heaven. I would like to think.
Yeah.
Macho Man Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat, WrestleMania 3.
Yes.
That's a perfect example of telling a story and having a great wrestling match. So many people remember that match, whether you were there in 1987 or if you're like myself and did the rewind and watching it. The first time I saw that match was over 20 years ago, and I remember like it was yesterday the first time I saw it. That's the point that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're trying to make here.
No, you're absolutely right.
Those are the things that you remember. Those are the matches that you remember. I can't remember the Miz versus Daniel Bryan other than the fact that I was there live. Other than that...
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah. Other than that, I would never have remembered that Daniel Bryan won his first championship in WWE against The Miz. I just happened to be there. It was in Chicago at a Night of Champions pay-per-view, and I was there live. Other than that, I forgot most of that card. So that's just. I remember CM Punk was there. He fought the Big Show. That was it. And I wouldn't have remembered it had it have been not me being there live. So the point is, things that we remember, things that we hold on to, are the stuff that's done with sincerity and integrity. And I'm not saying The Miz lacks integrity, but he sure as hell lacks sincerity in that ring. And that's my biggest problem with it. He's a great heel character. I'm not really a fan of it, but I see that part I see with people saying, oh, he's a great heel. Okay, he is. And he's certainly doing the job because he annoys the shit out of me. So I guess he's doing the right job.
He's doing his job.
He's doing his job there. But as far as in ring, I just tend not to watch.
Yeah, it's lackluster.
Yeah.
It really is.
There's nothing special about him.
And that's sad because you have, again, there's all that potential.
Yeah.
There's all that potential in
But somebody who's been in WWE for over 10 years, potential just don't cut it anymore.
No, it doesn't. And that's why you have what's going on with him. That's why you have in Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
You know, awesome heel work, but when it comes to in-ring stuff, it doesn't translate over very well. And so you do get those requests like Brock Lesnar put in, like, hey, I don't want to work against this guy. Have him drop the title to AJ Styles. I want to work against AJ Styles.
You think Brock Lesnar was right by doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, even his fucking ignorant ass knows that AJ Styles is the better worker, and he's going to do everything that's going to get Brock Lesnar over.
I think looking at it that way, in that perspective, I agree. Because when that first happened, I was like, fuck you, Brock. Like, who are you? Who are you to say that? And there's this part of me that still feels that way. But yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Something got through his thick skull.
Yeah.
You know, he finally made a good fucking decision. That's, by the way, we were talking about his matches earlier being short or really short.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably an easy bet. AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar was probably one of the longest matches Brock Lesnar has had in quite some time.
Yeah, and I'm not mistaken, Pro Wrestling Illustrated gave AJ Styles an A+. He deserved an A+ just for getting Brock Lesnar over the way that he did. And for surviving that match with his lack of caring about the other person in that ring.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
That was my biggest issue, was like, why is AJ Styles got to suffer and be in this match? Because if you lose AJ Styles, man, SmackDown you might as well just cancel the show. With all due respect to, like, Owens and Zayn and now Daniel Bryan, who wasn't a wrestler at that point. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, when it comes to Daniel Bryan, and I just want good quality matches. I want great quality matches. I want matches that when I'm old and hopefully have little ones myself that hopefully are into wrestling, or at least care enough to listen to their old man talk about it. I want to talk about the resurrection of Daniel Bryan and say, this was a guy that was he was such a great part of the transition to the wrestling today, and unfortunately his career was cut short because of concussion injuries, and then for him to come back and to get a second chance, man, what a second chance that was. I don't want to sit back like, yeah, he came back and I don't know why. That's my thing, and I think Daniel Bryan, deep down, when he made that decision to come back, and if he stays with WWE to make that decision, that's got to be the something that he can answer, look himself in the mirror and say, is this worth it? Is it worth it? Because you got to think of it. You're talking about your brain here. You're talking about your brain, and I'm glad that we live in a world now where we take concussions and say, well, just stay up for 24 hours or however long it was, and you'll be all right. Just don't fall asleep. Like, no, there's some long-lasting effects behind it. So many people had to die by their own hand, too.
Yeah.
Before we finally say, you know what, maybe concussions are a little more serious than we thought. And it sucks, But at the same time, you know, we can't just look at these people and say, like, they're just pawns, like, they're people. You know, Bryan Danielson, if you don't know, that's his real name, Bryan Danielson. He's a husband. You know, I don't necessarily care for his wife, but he does, obviously. And that's his wife, and he loves her. And he has, I don't know if it's a son or daughter, I'm drawing a blank here, but he has a child. He has a child, and maybe he'll have more children. So he's a husband, which I can relate to because I'm also a husband. And he's a father, who I'm not a father yet, but I know what it's like to care for somebody unconditionally. And by caring for somebody unconditionally, and I know you can vouch for this, I know a lot of you who are listening at home can vouch for this, one of the things that you strive to do is you want to take care of them all the time for the rest of your life. And by that, I mean living a long life. And I know nothing's guaranteed, but you're stepping in the ring after doctors told you no. Say, hey, you know what, this is what could happen, long-term effect. So you're taking a major risk by doing this. Don't waste it.
Exactly. Don't waste it.
That's my only advice I can say to him.
Yeah, don't waste it. And with that, we are going to take another break and stay with us.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hey, think you can tell us what to do?
I can't tell you what to do.
You think you can tell us what to wear?
I can't tell you what to wear.
You think that you're better?
Hell no, I'm not better.
Well, you better get ready.
But I am smarter.
Bow to the masters.
I'll bow to the masters over at Raise. Raise will hook you up with all kinds of discounted gift cards for your favorite places to eat, for your favorite places to shop online and in store. They have any place you could possibly think of, and they even have discounts on ride-sharing services like Lyft and Uber in case you guys need to make it to a show. So hop on over and support the show. Support your 20x20 crew. Visit us for more information on Raise and discounted gift cards over at 20x20crew.com/podcast/raise. That's RAISE. 20x20crew.com/podcast/raise. And we got 2 words for you. Save money! And we're back. This has been sort of unprecedented by us. We didn't see this we didn't foresee this happening. Daniel Bryan being announced to come back. Definitely glad he's back.
Absolutely.
I personally wish it was just for a different company.
Oh yeah, so do I.
And hopefully the future we get to see that. I would really like him to end up in New Japan, to be honest with you.
New Japan, Ring of Honor.
Somewhere that
freelancer.
Somewhere that's going to get him a better shot at personal happiness, because I really don't think he's going to have it here in the WWE. So, with that being said, we're going to wrap things up this week, because we could otherwise be here for hours upon hours fantasy booking what we would like to see him do. So, you can catch us over at our domain 20x20crew.com for all things 20x20 Ring Crew. You can catch us on Twitter at 20x20crew. You can catch us on Facebook. Go visit our official page at facebook.com/20x20crew. We also have our personal group on Facebook.
Yes. Join the conversation at 20x20 Wrestling Talk. Let us know what you think about this episode and every other episode, and talk to fellow wrestling fans out there about everything professional wrestling. Tell us what you don't like about the crew. Tell us what you do. That's what we really want to hear.
Also, catch us on YouTube. If you didn't know, we are officially on YouTube. You can go check us out. Just search for 20x20 Crew. We'll pop up. Hit that subscribe button. We definitely need subscriptions. I know we're the new up and comers here, but every little bit helps.
Yeah, and also too, we're definitely going to make it worth your while. We got tons of things that are going to be, besides the weekly episodic shows that we release. We have other things planned that are in the works, so we're definitely going to have so many things coming at your way. It'll definitely be worth it. Please, please, please hit that subscribe button, spread the word, and show the crew some love.
And then we are also on Instagram over at instagram.com/20x20crew. You can find us there. We'll be posting other content there as well. In the meantime, this has been Joe and Matt for 20 by 20, and we will see you in the ring.
And over the last 2 months, I've asked WWE to re-look at my case. And they sent me to the best neurologists all over the country. And all of these neurologists, every specialist, every doctor I've seen has said the same thing, and it is this: you are cleared.